Hello everybody. So today we're going to take a look at section 6.4, which continues our look at the z-score that we saw in the last chapter for 6.3. So as a quick review of what we saw in 6.3, we learned about the normal distribution, the bell curve, how the mean, the median, and the mode are all in the center of the curve. And as I said before, we learned about our z-score. This is the formula here. We take our data value, subtract our mean, divide it by the standard deviation, and as we saw, the z-score simply tells us how many standard deviations away from the mean, whatever data value we're looking at, is. And if they are whole number amounts away from the mean, then we get these measures given as a percent of the area of the curve that data point can lie in or represents. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk again about these percentages, but we're going to be more specific because here, these percentages that we're given, right, like this range, which gives us 68%, or this range, which gives us 95, or this one, which gives us 99.7, those are only ranges for whole number values of the z-score, right? But what happens if we have a data point that's not a whole number z-score away? What if we get something that's like 1.5 or 2.1 or something like that? Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. So what I want to show you is what we call a z-score table. So if you still have your workbook, if you flip to the last page of your workbook, you'll see something that looks like this. Okay. If you don't have your workbook, you can go to z-table.com and then you can get your own copy here. So what we have is a big table. Actually, we have two big tables. This is one, and if you scroll down a little more, you get another one. And you'll notice that these are exactly the same except for the entries in the middle. But if you look on the left-hand side here, on the far left column, all those numbers are negative on the first table, and all the numbers on the right table, or sorry, all the numbers on the next table are positive. So what are all these numbers? Why do we care? So the way we read this table, or I guess what these numbers are telling you, is these are, this is the area underneath the curve. It's not given as a percent, it's given as a decimal. So for example, if we look at the very bottom right number here where it says 0.4641, that's a decimal. If we want to convert that to a percentage, of course, that would be 46.41%. Okay, so let's see if I have an example here I can tell you, or we can discuss. Okay. So what I have here is whatever value we get, that's the percent of the data up to and including the corresponding data value. Okay, so the value from the z-score table tells us the area under the curve starting from all the way to the left of the curve and ending at the data point that you calculated the z-score from. Okay, so for example, if we had a data point that was right here on our curve, okay, we would calculate the z-score using our z-score formula, right? X minus x bar divided by the standard deviation. And then taking that z-score, we would go into our table and find this area here. And then we would know the area underneath the curve at that point. Okay. So why do we care about this? Well, like I said, it lets us calculate the area either to the left or to the right. Okay, and it lets us also know the probability that a randomly chosen value is to the left of that z-score. Okay, so we can do an example here. It'll make more sense, hopefully. So on the normal curve below, shade the region where the z-score is less than -3 and state what percentage of the data lies to the left of z is less than -3. Okay, so we know that all the positive values of the z-score lie to the right. These are all going to be positive values. And we know all the values to the left are negative. Okay, so -3 is going to be over here somewhere. Just a rough sketch. Okay, so it says shade the region where z is less than -3. So this is going to be that area. That's the shaded portion because this z is equal to -3 right there. Okay, and the question is, what percentage of the curve lies right there? Okay, so this is a whole number z-score. So really we don't need the table. In fact, if you remember, we can go back to the previous section and we can see here, this is the z-score of -3 right there. And this gave us 0.13%. So we know that the area underneath there is going to be 0.13%. That should be the answer we get for this question, right? But like I said, this only gives us a whole number z-scores, right? But we can still use a table to do it. So I'll show you how to do that. So go back to my original question here. We'll go and we'll take a look at the z-score. Okay, so because we're looking for -3, we're going to use this table, the first one on this website here, because if you take a look, all of these are the negative values. Okay, if you're looking for a positive z-score, you have to go to the other table over here. But we're looking for a negative z-score. So because we're looking for -3, we go to this side first. We go to the column and we find the first number and the first decimal number. So because we're looking for -3, which is the same thing as -3.00, we're going to go up here and we're going to find -3.0. And then we look for the second decimal, which is what we have along the top here. So because we're just looking for -3, we're going to look for -3.00. So that's going to be -3.00. So they intersect right there, and as you can see, we get a value of 0.0013. And as a percent, that gives us 0.13%. Okay, and that's in agreement with what we saw from the previous lesson. So we know the area under that curve is 0.13%. That's the answer to this question. Okay, let's try the next one. this one we'll actually have to use the table for because this is not a whole number z-score. All right, on the normal curve below, shade the region where z is less than 2.15 and state what percent of the data lies to the left of z is less than 2.15. Okay, so this z-score is positive, so we know we're going to be looking at the right-hand side of the curve. So let's say 2.15% is about here, or sorry, not 2.15%, a z-score of 2.15. So we'll say here z is equal to 2.15. And the area to the left, well, of course, it's going to look a little something like this. Okay. And the question, of course, is what is this area? All right. So we can't go back and use this diagram, right? Because our z-score is 2.15, well, that is going to be about here, right there, right? So we don't have a line that represents that on this diagram. That means we're going to have to go in and use our z-score table. Okay, so 2.15, so let's hop over. So these are the negative values, so we're now looking at a positive value, so we want to make sure we go down here. So we're looking for 2.15. So the first two numbers are 2.1. So we're going to be looking here at this row. Okay. And 2.15. So this is 2.15. So we're going to come down here. And boom, this is going to be our answer. That's going to be 0.9842. All right, and as a percentage, we multiply that by 100. So it's going to be 98.42%. So we know that 98.42% of the data is going to be at the z-score of 2.15 or smaller. Okay, it's always or smaller. It's always to the left. Okay. Let's see. I think I might want to end it there today. Yeah, I'm gonna end that. I'm gonna end the lesson there for now. I just want you guys to get used to using the z-score table with these easier examples. There's a lot more examples that we're gonna go into next week, but they involve a few tricks that I don't want to get into right now. I don't want to take too much time, so we'll call that it for today. So what we'll do, I have to get our book here and take a look and see exactly what questions I want you guys to work through. And I can't seem to find it. I think my wife buried it under her stuff, and she did. Okay, so let's see what I want you guys to do for practice this week. So that is going to be 6.4, so it's going to be on page 277. So just let me bring it up here for myself. So I'll have you guys do question 1. I'll have you do question maybe I'll only have you guys do question 1 this week. Because everything else in the book is kind of... we need to use those tricks I was talking about before. Perhaps I can... Yeah, let's start with doing question 1. That's fine. And I'll also have you do class example. So we'll say class example number 1, and that's actually on page 275. Okay, do class example number 1 from page 275. Do that one first, and then do question 1 on page 277. Okay, so yeah, let's do that for now and call it a week. Okay. So we'll be doing a lot more next week, but for now, just get comfortable with using those Z-score tables. All right, everybody, stay safe out there, and I'll see you next week. Bye.